Hey guys, Zombie here. So yep, I used to hate the fairy type. I was one of those people. When new things are introduced, especially to already established franchises, there's always skepticism. It's always met with a wave of, that's just how it is. Obviously this thing comes in, it challenges the dynamic of what we already know and love, so it's just met with a bit of pessimism. And yeah, I was definitely pessimistic. So when the fairy type came out, there was a lot of people, and obviously I was one of them, that kind of criticized it for just being the pink type. And you really can't blame us because the evidence is there. Granted, nowadays it's like my second or third favorite type. I adore it. Most of my team actually has the fairy typing in there somewhere. I think it's beautiful. I love it. I love how it fits in the world, and yeah, but this is what I used to think. It all essentially came down to Sylveon. Sylveon was basically the mascot for the fairy type, you know? We saw Sylveon first and we're like, what is it? What is this meant to be? And it was fairy. And it was the first thing we ever saw of anything fairy, and it just didn't look right to me. I love the evolutions. I adore the evolutions. Obviously, I'm Eevee everything. I'm Zom fucking BV, and I still to this day kind of think Sylveon just doesn't really look the part. You look at it and you don't think fairy, you don't think ethereal mythical being in the forest, you don't think the classic fairy, you think, why is it pink? Are they bows? Why is it pink? It basically wasn't really a good message in my eyes. I don't mind Sylveon, you know, I still see it as part of the evolutions. I still like it. I have a shiny, basically because I wanted it to not be pink. And, you know, I do love it. But yeah. And the insult to injury. This is what it basically comes down to. The absence of the dragon type Eevee. In the history of forever, in 20 years, every time a new generation has come out that has had Eevees, they've always been released alongside their type counterpart. There's always been 2 or 3 in Gen 1. They're groups, they come together, and then it was just Sylveon. We waited and waited, and the release of X and Y was getting closer, and there was just no dragon type in sight. It'll forever be a shame. I want a dragon type Eevee so badly, so badly. And yeah, so I was pissed. Alongside that were the Pokemon in X and Y that had the fairy type or that gained the fairy type. And well, yes, there was an obvious pattern. Aromatisse, y'all know how I feel about that. Surpluff, again, it's just a pink blob. I get it's cotton candy, I get what they were going for, but when Sylveon and then you got these two, they're all pink. And yes, there's Florges and whatnot. They were kind of cool, but obviously I was focusing on one thing at this point because, again, I was being very pessimistic. So the Pokemon that gained the fairy type. Clefairy. I can see it, obviously it's from the moon, it's got fairy in its name. Alright, sure. Jigglypuff? I don't see it. It's just a pink circle. But sure, whatever, if you have to, yeah. Snubble? Okay, what is the deal? You do not in any way look at Snubble and think fairy type. You think fugly dog. That should have stayed normal type. It did not deserve the fairy type. When Pokemon like Skitty and Delcatty, the infinitely more elegant, sort of magical looking Pokemon, missed out. And what about Milotic? The most beautiful Pokemon that evolves through beauty. You'd think that'd have to get the fairy type, but nope. So that's basically where my anger ends though, to be honest, because since then I've obviously adored the fairy type. All that stuff doesn't even really count when it comes into it now because I love the fairy type. amongst the Pokemon that gained the fairy type, is my absolute favourite Pokemon of all time, Mawile, and that brings a whole new dynamic to my favourite Pokemon. It's not just the weird looking steel type anymore, it's the steel fairy powerhouse that is also adorable. That was a good move. Game Freak, thank you. And Gardevoir, obviously, one of the most beautiful Pokemon ever, the most fan-arty Pokemon ever, definitely deserving of the fairy type. Now she is just a goddess. And then in 7th gen, all the new Pokemon that came out that were fairy type are just so fitting, so perfect, so awesome. Primarina, Mimikyu, Ribombee, I had all those on my team. They are what I picture when I think fairy type, and that's what I think the typing should have been aiming towards in the start. Just sort of more beautiful Pokemon, sort of more mysterious, lovely, elegant, not just pink. And the weaknesses and advantages, that all makes sense. It all has a very folklore-y feel. It's all the hero, the dragon, and the fairy. They all come from fairy tales, and it all comes into place in the typing advantages. And I just think it really fits in the Pokemon world. It's meant to be, and it's good, and I love it. The reason I initially disliked them, that still has its meaning. I still sort of stand by it. In a way, I still hate that Snubbull is fairy type. I still hate that a lot of Pokemon missed out. But in the long run, it's fine. I'm really glad that I overcame that initial skepticism and I'm able to enjoy it now, because blindly hating things only means that you miss out on enjoying something, and I'd so much rather enjoy something than not, because obviously being happy is better than being a salty little bitch. Sorry. So yeah, anyway, I'm glad I changed my mind. Thank you for watching, everyone. I love you. I hope you understand, and I'll see you around. Mwah.